Hey y'all, and welcome to Brawl. My name is Brian, and Jeff Van Drew and Jamie Raskin just go toe-to-toe, and what Jeff Van Drew reveals will absolutely make you mad, and you'll never look at Jamie Raskin the same. Let's dive in.
I don't quite understand where the other side of the aisle is coming from here. You know, this Epstein issue has been there for years. It was here during the Biden administration. It was here when just about all the members who spoke today were here. And yet not a word, virtually not a peep. We're going to have the opportunity to speak to the very pertinent players in this. The Oversight Committee is doing good work now as we speak. But what bothers me is when you take an issue as serious as this and the legislation that we should be voting on today and mix it in with politics. And what do I mean by that? My good friend, Mr. Raskin, who I deeply respect, but he didn't talk about any of this with Epstein until a few months ago.
Would the gentleman yield?
No, I will not. I'm going to finish. His main account didn't even mention the Epstein files once until June 5th of this year, this very year. Mr. Goldman didn't mention it really in his files until May 12th. Mr. Moskowitz, to the best of our knowledge, has never really mentioned it until recent time. I hear the moral righteousness, the righteous indignation, the supposed moral clarity. Where was it then? But now, because there's a change of administrations, now, because it can sideline what's a very important bill, we're not going to let that happen. All of a sudden, everybody's morally righteous, everybody's morally pure, everybody's morally concerned. We're all concerned about this issue. Right or left, Republican or Democrat, we are, but when it is used as a political tool, it is shameful to those young people who suffered. It is shameful to this institution. We have work here to do, and to just start bringing it up now, you know, if we saw for year after year after year after year, these folks have brought it up, but they did not. But now they do. I think that is shameful. I think it's disturbing. I don't know where the real moral righteousness or the moral clarity is because I don't see it there. So, Mr. Chairman, for one, as just one member of this committee, would suggest that we move forward and make sure that this good legislation that's been sponsored by Mr. Fry moves through, that unaccompanied alien children under 12 years and older, that we protect them and take care of them, because we can do that now. We can't completely undo what is the past, but we can move forward and make sure in many ways that something else horrible doesn't happen. With that, I think somebody asked for me to yield.
Yes, kindly.
Ranking member, yes, I yield.
Well, thank you very much, and it pains me to hear you impute hypocrisy and surplus moral self-righteousness to me, and I'm afraid...
And it hurts me to have to do it.
Well, I'm going to have to contradict the whole premise of your little filibuster against me, because I'm going to introduce for the record a letter I wrote on July 10th, 2019, when I was chairman of the Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Civil Liberties of the Oversight Committee. It's addressed to the Honorable Alexander Acosta. Dear Mr. Secretary, we're ready to invite you to testify at a hearing on July 23rd at 3 p.m. in room 2154.
I reclaim my time. I get your point.
Okay, wait,
let me finish here.
I want to read exactly what it's about.
It's my time, but wait a second. I'll let you go back.
Gentleman from New Jersey,
I will say this. You have spoken more about it today in this one hearing than in all those previous years combined. I'll yield back to you again.
All right. So the hearing will examine your actions as U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida in authorizing a non-prosecution agreement for Jeffrey Epstein, as well as the finding by a federal court that you violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act by keeping this non-prosecution agreement secret from the many victims of Mr. Epstein's crimes. Your testimony is even more critical now that federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York unsealed a new indictment earlier this week outlining a host of additional charges against Epstein, including luring dozens of teenage girls to his homes in New York City and Palm Beach and paying them to engage in sexual activity with him. My friend, Mr. Van Drew, I was railing about this. You may have forgotten because that was during the Democratic period of your career when you were on our side of the aisle. And you've blocked it out now.
I know,
okay?
Thank God.
But you may have blocked it out, but I didn't.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
Thank God I did change, and this is just a good example of that.
Well, you have
no
political
amnesia.
amnesia.
It's my time. I still have many friends on the other side of the aisle, but here's the point. You still have spoken about it more today and yesterday and the day before than you did in all those years.
Well, are we
That's
trusting the
point.
same fact checkers
you're
on
much
that
more
you trusted
morally-
in making your statement?
You're much, much more angry now than you ever were then, and I call that into question. I do, and that is my right.
Let's take a step back and go all the way back to 2008. Okay, Jamie Raskin, I don't think was in politics then. If he was, it was probably at the local level. Probably the same with Jeff Van Drew. It usually takes you a while to get up to that position, and I'd forgotten that Jeff Van Drew had switched parties. And I'm very thankful that he has. He has been a solid voice of reason. And by the way, another step back, I can tell this isn't political theater. I can smell political theater a mile away. Because I'm used to it. I've seen it. And this is a little bit personal. They aren't getting testy with each other. They aren't trying to really go... There's no low blows here. It's just a couple of jabs back and forth. And no one's getting too histrionic. But you can tell Jamie Raskin is a little razzled by this. If you're 64 years or older, you probably want to listen to this one. The Department of Justice just went after 3 of the biggest Medicare providers, all for claiming that they were unbiased, while allegedly steering seniors into plans that provided them the best kickbacks. This just goes to show you can't trust any old Medicare provider to have your back. But navigating Medicare alone, that can be a total nightmare. That's why I want you to know about Chapter. They flip the script on the system by comparing every Medicare plan, not just the ones that give them the highest kickbacks. That's how they help people save, on average, $1,100 per year. If your plan's already the right fit, they'll tell you. And if there's a better plan out there, they'll help you switch. So if you're ready to fight against a rigged system, call Chapter today and get advice from people in your corner. We need to really start understanding the timeline of these events. So far, Jamie Raskin says that actually, back in 2019, I had sent in a letter to Alex Acosta, who gave what was called a sweetheart deal to Jeffrey. Okay, here's what happened, and this was back in 2008. The much criticized deal includes a controversial non-prosecution agreement, or NPA, in which the federal prosecutor's office grants immunity to Epstein, 4 co-conspirators, and any potential co-conspirators, the Justice Department says. Prosecutors agreed not to tell the victims about the NPA, which is filed under seal. And Raskin, after Jeffrey was arrested for a second time in 2019, then decides to have some curiosity and pens a strongly worded letter, which shows that he does seem to care a little bit. Good for him. But asking this question sort of in private, this is the right thing to do to some degree, particularly if you're the chairman of a subcommittee, as Jamie Raskin claims, and I have no reason to not believe him in this regard. And him filing it into the record, again, I have no reason to believe that he did not do this. But he was not outspoken about this until this summer in 2025. And there's a reason Jeff Van Drew brings up Jared Moskowitz and Dan Goldman. These guys have been screeching about this issue for the past few months. Just magically, out of the blue. I don't remember too many Democrats talking about this issue, which is weird because Jeffrey was arrested at the end of the Bush administration, then at the end of the Trump administration, and that sounds like a natural jumping off point for Democrats to actually talk about this issue. That means that either A, they don't want to touch this issue because there's skeletons in their own closet, or B, they were too ignorant to jump on this issue to begin with. Or C, something else that's just really cynical about politics, the internal polling just wasn't there, so it wasn't enough of an issue for them to care about. That last part's a little bit ghoulish, but that's also very likely. So there's 3 possibilities from the Democrat side. And then let's back up and take a look at the whole timeline. Donald Trump, yes, and Jeffrey Epstein, yes, they knew each other. We know that. We've known that for a long time. If you were in Hollywood or New York circles, you probably had access to Jeffrey. And if that's the case, Why did Trump ban Jeffrey in 2008 from Mar-a-Lago properties? That same year that he gets caught and has that sweetheart deal, all of a sudden Trump goes, okay, nope, not dealing with you anymore. Apparently they had a big falling out in 2003, and that's been a pivotal year for Donald Trump himself, where I think he started to realize that I might run for office one day. I might need to start getting my life in order. I might need to stop hanging out with this dude. And so the two had a feud since 2003 that culminated in 2008. And you'd think that this would be an easy thing for Democrats to jump on, but if so, it took them 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it took them 6 years to talk about this topic. 6 years since all the memes of Jeffrey did not kill himself. Something doesn't add up about this entire situation. Nothing about this makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense that Trump went after him, that Trump hasn't gone after this dude even harder than he did. It doesn't make sense that the Democrats have been silent about it, and now everything seems to have switched up. What that tells me is, more than likely, the threat of the files was more than enough to be used more as leverage. It is more likely to me that all the evidence has been destroyed or magically lost. It is more than likely to me all that we have left are the flight logs, and we still can't really confirm them. And we also know that a whole lot of people got caught up in this. So this whole situation is weird, but what we do know is this. Jamie Raskin magically found his soul on this issue just a few months ago. Started making it into an important talking point just a few months ago. When we've been talking about this issue for 6 years, and then folks on the right and on the MAGA right have been talking about this for decades. Something isn't adding up, and I am not buying it from someone who is basically the mouthpiece of the Democrat Party now. I think Jamie Raskin is indeed the best mouthpiece that they have, and it took them 6 years to talk about this? I'm not buying it. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.